What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was the God of Thunder in Marvel Part 3. Now, let's begin. Galypso's perspective. Several years ago. At that time, Akar had not yet reached its current level of development. The Grand Master had recently initiated his gladiator tournaments. During that period, Galypso and his son inadvertently found themselves drawn into this refuse-laden planet while navigating through space. In contrast to him, his son had successfully awakened the berserker bloodline inherent to their lineage. In the meantime, the individual who was unable to awaken his bloodline opted to pursue technological advancements for strength. In fact, he was already a renowned scientist in his home country. On this occasion, he intended to visit the dwarves to acquire an appropriate weapon for his son. Following the acquisition of the axe known as Alron, they commenced their return journey, during which they encountered a space wormhole that transported them to Sarkar. Galypso found himself confined on the planet Sakar, accompanied by his son. However, he remained persistent and continually sought a means of escape from this situation. With their strength, they encountered minimal challenges in their survival here. Unfortunately, the enjoyable moments were fleeting, as the Grand Master selected his son to serve as his champion. Initially, Galypso was resistant to the idea. However, faced with the grave threat posed by the Grand Master, he found himself compelled to reach a compromise. He could find solace in the fact that they were, at the very least, alive. The Grand Master graciously permitted the father and son duo to meet following each of his son's victories in competition. This situation persisted for several years. Due to the inherent advantages his son possessed, he was able to maintain a consistent winning streak. Ultimately, the Grand Master grew disinterested, leading to the downfall of his son, who perished in the arena due to the machinations at play. During that period, Galypso sought to confront the Grand Master in an attempt to avenge his son, fully aware that he was at a disadvantage. However, his son's final words echoed in his mind consistently. "Father, please continue to live." Upon reflecting, Galypso became increasingly emotional, ultimately breaking down and falling to the floor. Upon hearing this tragic life story, even Naruto expressed sympathy for the unfortunate bear. With a sense of responsibility, Naruto stepped forward to offer his support. "Please refrain from crying, Galypso. What impression will your son have of you otherwise? Ah, woo, muah. It is with great sadness that I express my feelings." Following a period of emotional release, Galypso regained composure. "Were you genuinely serious about your previous statements, or were you simply joking?" Observing his unfortunate expression, Naruto, despite his reluctance to involve too many individuals in the plan, found it difficult to turn down the bear. "We are pleased to welcome you to our team. However, the final decision will ultimately be based on your contributions to the team. We will return in 1 week's time. Prepare the weapons. Please ensure that this information remains confidential. You can rely on my support." Galypso provided reassurance to Naruto, confidently beating his chest with a radiant smile. Subsequently, Naruto escorted Raven back to her residence. On a winding, isolated path, Raven abruptly leapt onto a building and launched a miniature fission bomb at Naruto. Therefore, on this matter, Raven expressed joy with a confident smile, reflecting the triumph of victory. She had been anticipating this opportunity for quite some time. Today, she has identified a significant opportunity for advancement. She has just deployed a highly potent fission bomb against Naruto. Even though it was a smaller version, it was not something that could be confronted by an individual alone. Gradually, the smoke began to dissipate, and Raven extended her neck to assess the circumstances. At that moment, the smoke had dissipated, and Raven was taken aback to find Naruto standing there, applauding. This was an outcome she had not anticipated, even in her most ambitious aspirations. She indicated that it was intended to be a guaranteed plan. However, she did not fully recognize Naruto's capabilities. Despite Naruto's body being covered in blood following the explosion, it was regenerating at an impressive rate. Conversely, he successfully survived the explosion. However, Naruto was quite upset on this occasion. This was the most profound encounter with mortality he had experienced since arriving in this realm. It appeared that he had placed his trust in Raven prematurely. As Naruto observed the summit of the building, he noticed a frightened Raven appearing disoriented. Upon catching sight of him, the Raven swiftly turned to flee. Regrettably, the timing was not favorable. Naruto promptly activated the obedience disc, causing Raven to scream and fall from the roof due to intense pain. However, Naruto continued undeterred by this circumstance. Instead, he positioned himself in front of Raven and regarded her with a commanding demeanor. Gazed at her in a dominating manner. I would like to emphasize the importance of maintaining trust in relationships. In the aftermath, you may find yourself regretting the decision to attempt an ambush against me today. Subsequently, Naruto transported the incapacitated Raven on his shoulders to their residence. They arrived at the apartment shortly thereafter. At present, the house was unoccupied, allowing Naruto to escort Raven to the living room without interruption. Following her defeat, Naruto was ready to impose significant consequences today. They arrived at the apartment shortly thereafter. At present, the house was unoccupied, allowing Naruto to escort Raven to the living room without interruption. Following her dismissal, Naruto was ready to impose significant consequences today. Naruto's perspective. Observing Raven on the floor, Naruto contemplated the necessity of imposing a significant consequence, this time to ensure that a precedent is established for future behavior. Today, I will address the consequences of your actions, Raven. Stated Naruto. Excuse me. For a brief moment, Raven found it challenging to comprehend my words. However, upon observing me licking my lips, she experienced a noticeable shudder throughout her body. What are your plans? Raven displayed an expression of distaste. She then stepped back and drew her rapier. I smiled subtly. It is an appropriate moment for some enjoyment. Before she could retreat further, I gestured with my hand. The obedience disc affixed to her neck activated immediately. Raven experienced a sudden shock. In a moment, she recalled that I had employed an obedience disc on her. Her complexion became noticeably lighter. She instinctively raised the rapier to strike before I could react, yet her body ceased to respond. I have consistently held a curiosity regarding a particular matter. I stated as I rose and approached Raven. What was the reason for your strong dislike towards me? Please, I would appreciate it if you could maintain your distance. I am seeking clarification. While I acknowledge that our initial meeting did not go as well as anticipated, I want to clarify that I never intended to cause you any harm. I simply encouraged you to participate in our plan. In expressing this sentiment, I recognized that I might come across as a villain, however, I remained unconcerned. Raven bit her lips and fell silent, harboring resentment towards Naruto internally. I smiled subtly. I believe the reason for your disdain towards me may be different, wouldn't you agree? Could you please clarify what you mean? Raven regarded me with caution. I gazed intently at Raven. Subsequently, I displayed a sly smile. Do you have a preference for Sith? My lips formed a smile that conveyed a sense of dark amusement. It seems that you may not have a preference for men. You are. How do you know that information? Raven's complexion was notably pale. She regarded me with an expression that suggested she was observing something monstrous. I responded with a casual shrug. I possess a strong ability to observe individuals. Your expression reflects animosity, envy, and caution when I engage in conversation with Sith, and it conveys disdain when you observe my interactions with other men as well. Certainly, that does not constitute sufficient evidence. Initially, I believed that your frustration stemmed from my insistence on our plan and the constraints imposed by the obedience disc. On one occasion, while we were at home and you were resting on the sofa, you unexpectedly began to talk in your sleep. At that time, I encountered some intriguing information. That holds no significance. Are you certain? During that conversation, you explicitly stated your fondness for Sith. Only if she is able to reciprocate your feelings, and so forth. Little Raven, I possess considerable experience, allowing me to discern when a woman is in love. Rest assured, I will keep this information confidential. Raven was taken aback. However, she recalled the circumstances she currently faced. A momentary expression of uncertainty crossed her face. A moment later, she let out a sigh of resignation and turned her gaze toward me. "How may I assist you?" A mischievous smile appeared on my lips. "Intelligent. I certainly have a desire for something." I approached her and gently lifted her chin. "I desire your presence. Continue to aspire." Raven became extremely upset. "I will not offer my body to someone who does not meet my standards." "Indeed," I declared as energy crackled in my grasp. Raven bit her lips thoughtfully. A few moments later, she regarded me with an expression of embarrassment. "What is the reason for your actions?" she inquired. I dismissed the matter with a slight shrug. "I have informed you that it is a consequence. Your actions have consistently opposed my interests from the beginning, culminating in this recent ambush. I believe a consequence is necessary. Had I been unaware of your secret, I would have pursued an alternative strategy. Regrettably, I am aware. I believe there is no more fitting consequence for you." Naruto was quite upset this time. His survival today can be attributed solely to his exceptional S-rank physique and remarkable S-rank self-regeneration abilities. Had Lucy been in his position, it is certain she would not have endured. Subsequently, if I assure you that is quite late for such a matter. I interjected to Raven in a composed manner. "I no longer have sufficient trust in you for that. You were presented with a choice. Accept my condition or face dire consequences today." Raven was astonished. She averted her gaze to the ground and closed her eyes, reflecting on her regret. She began to shed tears. For a brief moment, I considered the possibility of extending my forgiveness to her. Nevertheless, that concept was swiftly abandoned. Certainly, I do not genuinely contemplate harming her in any way. Ultimately, Raven found herself in a position of compulsion. Individuals seek to maintain their autonomy without limitations. It is simply a characteristic of human behavior. However, this does not imply that her ambush was warranted. Therefore, it was not an issue to instill a significant level of fear in her. Failure to address this matter may lead her to attempt it once more, and they are not positioned to endure any form of betrayal. After some time, Raven finally lifted her gaze and regarded me with a resolute expression. "I concur. However, my purity is not something you can possess. I cannot consent to that." I gazed at Raven in disbelief for a moment. Her agreement exceeded my expectations. Her determination to endure, shaped by the challenging experiences of her life, is significant. I have a genuine appreciation for this determined young woman. Upon hearing her response, I found myself chuckling. I concur with that assessment. I find myself somewhat taken aback, not only by her actions but also by my own conduct. I acknowledge the moral implications repeatedly, yet the pressures of daily life ultimately led me to succumb to my desires. I snapped my fingers and turned off the obedience disc around her neck. Raven, on the other hand, didn't make an attempt to escape this time. Ultimately, trying to escape didn't really help. She realized she was in my control. She just wiped away her tears and put on a cool, emotionless face. "What should I do? How about we kick things off with some learning? Do you think that's enough?" Raven shot me a look, teeth clenched tight. I smiled and let my eyes wander over her, taking in her toned muscles and the way her figure caught my attention. Raven's face flushed when she noticed me looking at her without any clothes on. Her eyes showed a mix of shame and indignation. It was just unbearable for her to think about that guy. She couldn't stand seeing her like this. But the more she acted that way, the more excitement I started to feel. I really wanted to win her over, to have her all to myself, to connect with her deeply, and to make her crave my presence. Even Naruto didn't realize he had this side to him. Or maybe he had it buried deep in his subconscious. The stress and issues from the recent times just made it all come to the surface. Right now, Raven was pretty much bare. I asked her to remove her clothes, keeping just her underwear on. Raven's underwear was definitely on the serious side. A white bra and panties with a little lace detail in the front. Honestly, they really gave her a girlish vibe. With her hair pulled back in a ponytail and her eyes showing a mix of humiliation and anger, she had an undeniably captivating presence. As Raven attempted to shield herself with her hands, I took my time walking around her, taking in her figure from every angle. Her bust, her curves, her waistline, her collarbone, her long legs. I took my time looking at every part of her, wanting to remember each detail clearly. As Raven began to feel a bit ashamed, I reached out and placed my hand on her shoulder. Sniff. It smells so good. I leaned in close and took a gentle sniff of her neck. Raven felt a chill run through her. The sweet scent of her skin combined with the salty aroma of sweat made for a captivating fragrance. I found myself mentally reciting sutras to keep my urges in check, especially the urge to push her against the table and really go for it. "What are you up to?" Raven asked with a hint of nervousness. I gave her a smile and planted a kiss on her neck. "Take it easy, it's really not a big deal. Stop it." Raven's body shook. "But, you know, I just brushed off her, please." I gently wrapped my arms around her and held her close. Raven's body became soft. Her face turned red from the shame and embarrassment she was experiencing right then. But soon, she felt an indescribable shiver run through her body. Raven let out a gasp. The unexpected pleasure nearly made her moan out loud. What? Wow, that's really sensitive." I softly breathed in her ear. I kept my hand busy exploring her curves while my tongue playfully teased her earlobes. Right now, Raven was experiencing a joy that was beyond anything she had ever felt. She bit her lips, trying to hold back the moans that were slipping out. But even so, her body just couldn't resist the amazing pleasure it was experiencing. Strange little grunts came out of her throat, and her body kept shaking and felt all soft. A sticky liquid started to ooze from her lower cave. What's going on? I could see the surprise and disbelief in her eyes. She started to breathe faster, and her hands clutched my arms tightly. At last, Raven couldn't hold it in anymore and let out a big moan. "What's going on, Raven? What do you think about it?" Shut up. Haha, that's hilarious. No need to stress. That's normal," I said, holding her chin as I looked right into her eyes. Then, I suddenly kissed her. Yum. She widened her eyes. She immediately started to squirm, trying to break free from my hold, but I shifted my left hand to her lower area and made contact through her underwear. A jolt of electricity surged through Raven's body. She felt her body give in, and all her strength just faded away. She just fell into my arms, feeling completely helpless. In the blink of an eye, a rush of love flowed from her depths. I used her moment of pleasure to gently part her lips. My tongue explored her mouth, brushing against her gums and savoring her taste. She couldn't respond. The intense pleasure washed over her, and for a moment, she couldn't tell what was real and what was just a dream. I pulled away from the kiss only when she began to gasp for air. A few seconds later, Raven finally stirred from the blissful afterglow of her orgasm. I gave her a sly smile and leaned in to kiss her lips once more. Raven started to freak out. Thinking back to what just happened, her face turned a blend of white and red. "My first kiss," she mumbled with a heavy heart. She then looked down and began to cry. "Why?" Raven was in tears. "What's the reason behind this? I'm really upset with you right now." I let out a sigh. I can't help but crumble when a girl cries." Shaking my head, I picked up Raven and carried her over to my desk. Then, I sat in a chair and had her on my lap. "How's it going?" I asked in the softest way I could. Even I could tell how hypocritical I sounded right then. "Do you really need to ask?" Raven looked at me with a mix of anger and despair. "I really can't stand this. Really. But your body sees things differently." Raven just went quiet. Even though she wanted to brush off what I said, the memory of the amazing pleasure she just felt was still fresh in her mind. You wanna give it a shot with Sif too?" Raven leapt up and gave me a cautious look. Maybe I can lend a hand." Raven was taken by surprise. She gazed into my eyes, almost as if she was wondering whether what I said was really true. I just kept quiet, but I had a smile on my face. Ultimately, Raven gave in. Since I was a kid, I've never really liked men. When I first got to Sarkar, I ended up getting captured by some scrappers and became a slave. Guys were giving me those hungry, lustful looks. It really grossed me out every time that happened. But I kept reminding myself that everything was going to be just fine. So, I finally managed to get out of there. Unfortunately, one of the few friends I made there wasn't able to get out. Lily was her name. She was such a gentle soul, always looking out for me, even when it meant facing scolding and punishment from the slave traders herself. Little by little, I found myself developing feelings for her and a growing dislike for those wicked men. I never shared how I felt because of the situation back then. After a few years, we finally stumbled upon a chance to break free from that nightmare. But once again, she chose my safety over her own and made the ultimate sacrifice so I could get away. I never got around to telling her. And Sif, she looks just like her. Her face, her voice. Raven actually started crying at the end. Really? You really liked her, didn't you? I really do, Naruto, I really can't stand you. But, if you promise me that you won't touch me after today, I promise I'll always follow your orders. I'll wholeheartedly help you rescue your friend. If you don't believe me, feel free to put the obedience disc on me again. Akila's voice carried a mix of hope and despair. It was really something to see this delicate side of her. Oh, I couldn't help but smirk. I've got a better idea. Wait, what? You know, I really don't think you have much chance with Sif, but hearing about your sad history is something else. You. Raven blushed bright red. She shot me a look filled with so much anger that it felt like she could have taken me out right then and there. I just gave her a blank stare. Raven stopped talking. Honestly, she had known that for quite some time now. It looks like Sif was already falling for Naruto. Well, still, I really don't want to throw in the towel. Alright, let me share my idea with you. I leaned in close and whispered in her ear, just like a devil would. What if you and Sif are into the same person? Wow, just imagine, you get to enjoy the body of the person you love, and all you have to do is share her with me. I'm okay with you and Sif having that kind of relationship. Well, you know, both of you are women. All you need to do is join my team and promise you won't betray me, okay? You'll be part of the family too. Raven's eyes flew open. For a moment, she was at a loss for words. I gave a smile. I gently stroked her cheek, leaned in, and kissed her deeply. She held on through the kiss until she just couldn't catch her breath anymore. Then, she took a deep breath, and I gently bit her neck. Little Raven, have you thought about this? It might just be your chance to make up for those regrets. I leaned in and whispered in her ear, then stood up, leaving her sitting in the chair. Honestly, I really want to spend more time playing with you tonight, but I'll give you some space to think about it. Just let me know when you've got your answer. After I said that, I just slipped out of the room, leaving Raven there, stunned and lost in her thoughts. Still, I really needed her help to rescue Jack. And I couldn't push her into a corner. That's all for now. Let's take our time with this. The length should definitely be long enough. Nothing to say about the night. The next day, Sif and Lucy came back, each bringing some good news one after the other. They noticed that Raven was acting a bit off today, but they didn't think much of it. It really wasn't their concern, to be honest. Okay Lucy, you're up first. Naruto asked curiously. Naruto, guess what? I finally saw Jack in the gladiator fights yesterday. Huh, is he okay? Naruto and Sif were both super excited and wanted to know more details. So, last night, just like I usually do, I headed to the stadium to see if I could gather any useful info. I was really surprised to find out that Jack was in on the fight yesterday too. I also asked about when Jack's next fight is happening, and it looks like it's set for about 43 days from now. Lucy shared her findings in a really detailed way. After that, Sif shared some good news too. Naruto, I just found out some info about Brunhilde. She's planning to check out the junkyard 20 miles east of here in a couple of days, on the hunt for her next find. That's great. Looks like everything is getting back on track. Looks like luck is really on our side. Naruto quickly sensed that Raven was their fortunate charm. If he had known this beforehand, he would have bullied her the moment he saw her. Raven, who was sitting on the sidelines, understood right once that Naruto was up to no good. Meanwhile, Naruto decided to offer Raven a gift while he was feeling nice. All right, Sif, it's decided. 2 days later, Lucy and I will meet Brunhilde at the junkyard. While you follow Raven to get the redesigned weaponry. Quote, Naruto remarked, discreetly winking at Raven. After that, Naruto told Lucy and Sif about Galupso. That's why I chose to welcome him to our squad. Although his strength is limited, his ability to use technology and machinery may be extremely beneficial. Yeah, I can also get rid of my temporary pilot duty. Lucy added humorously. 2 days later, Naruto and Lucy had been waiting at the junkyard since the morning. They didn't want to squander this uncommon opportunity. Just as they were becoming bored, they noticed a spaceship. It came from the west and went over their heads at high speed. It soon landed roughly a km away from their current location. Naruto identified it as Brunhilde's famed spaceship, Warsong. Thus, Naruto notified Lucy and dashed in the same direction. On the other side, Brunhilde alighted from the Warsong and noticed a big lizard man. At this point, he was under attack from all sides. While drunkenly going towards the scrappers, Brunhilde staggered around onboard her ship and began to trip over the debris on the ground. Getting up from the ground, Valkyrie informed the scrappers that it is her target, and if they want him, they must go through her. You're there. Halt. Leave this man alone, bastards. Fuck, who do you think you are? Naturally, they couldn't quit up at this stage just because of one person's involvement. Just leave here while you can and don't interfere in our matter. Boss, we might as well capture her too, said another minion. Brunhilde became upset when the lead scrapper refused to heed her orders and insisted on catching her as well. How dare you guys get my idea too? Brunhilde then activated her gauntlets and shot nearly all of the scrappers who were taking her prayer captive. Although one scrapper survived the gunfire, Valkyrie evaded his attack and defeated him using her greater Asgardian might. As the lizardman praised her for supposedly saving him from a life of servitude, Valkyrie put an obedience disc around his neck and triggered it with a remote control, electrocuting and incapacitating him. Do not thank me. I am not a good person myself, Brunhilde said, snorting. With the chance to catch the lizardman, Valkyrie grabbed him by the damaged garments he was wearing and led him toward her ship. Naruto and Lucy had already arrived a few minutes ago. They were merely viewing what was going on below them. Naruto also used the chance to analyze Brunhilde's strength. And he wasn't disappointed. Although she was equally strong as Raven, she had a distinct expertise. Brunhilde had already taken care of all the scrappers and was about to board her spaceship. Naruto got out and approached Brunhilde, followed by Lucy. Ah, someone seems in a hurry to leave. Who may you be? Do you also want a piece of me? Brunhilde spoke, although still dizzy from booze. Naruto was taken aback by Brunhilde's behavior. Relax, we are not here to fight with you today, Lucy said, smiling. Naruto had previously told Lucy and Sif who Brunhilde was. After discovering her actual identity, they were both quite thrilled to meet her. After all, Valkyries are the female Asgardians' idols. Lucy and Sif were no exceptions. Then get out of my way, Brunhilde said cautiously, pointing her machine pistol at Naruto and Lucy. In reality, we're here to propose a deal. I wonder whether you're interested. Oh, and by the way, I'm Naruto from Asgard. And here is Lucy, an Asgardian. Brunhilde became more sober after hearing these comments. But she still reacted casually. So, what's it got to do with me? It's as if Brunhilde, one of our comrades, and Jack have been abducted by the Grand Master as his champions. We can't rescue him on our own and will require help from others. That is why I am here now to seek for your assistance. Hee hee. Ha ha ha. Why do you believe I'll help you? Well, you are also an Asgardian, right, and still the last Valkyrie of Asgard, Brunhilde. Yes, you are my idol. I had always wanted to join the Valkyries, but I didn't get the opportunity. Please help us save Jack. Lucy also expressed excitement. After Lucy begged Valkyrie's assistance in rescuing Jack, she just waved goodbye and began going towards her spacecraft. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. She finally stopped after Naruto labeled her a coward. Look at you, drinking all day to drown your past in intoxication and working for someone like a servant. This is not what a Valkyrie is expected to accomplish. You're now simply a coward fleeing from his history. Valkyrie was outraged with Naruto's argument and confronted him, stating that they were no longer on Asgard, including the fact that she had resigned her Valkyrie title. Listen carefully, this is Sakaar, not Asgard, and I am a scrapper, not a Valkyrie. So just fuck off. It appears that I have no option except to take you down first. I'm not sure why no one wants to communicate amicably these days. Naruto stated this as he moved closer to Brunhilde. Immediately, lightning appeared all over his body, covering him like armor. This move was inspired by the fourth Raikage. Naruto had just recently created it, therefore this was his first time utilizing it. Naruto believed that because he already possessed an S-rank body, his combat style was inherently geared toward close combat. And, of all the ways to use thunder power, Naruto thought the third Hokage's Thunder Aramore was the best fit for his style. It not only increased his body's protection capacity, but it also pushed his speed to its limits. One thing to note is that, while Naruto's thunder armor was influenced by the fourth Raikage, it was still somewhat unique. And, unlike the Raikage, Naruto can employ the explosive force of lightning in his assaults, similar to Thor. Meanwhile, as Brunhilde noticed lightning sparks around Naruto and Lucis' bodies at the same time, she grabbed her weapons and hurled the collapsed lizardman away. Despite being astonished to find two awoken Asgardians at the same moment, she did not hesitate. Brunhilde instantly pushed the trigger and started shooting furiously. Naruto merely let these bullets strike him without any impact. His already robust body, along with the thunder armor, increased his defense to an astounding level. Lucy, on the other hand, had learnt from him and built half-baked thunder armor. It was because she didn't have much time to train and was largely out gathering information for her team. But, given enough time, she can improve it. Naruto also proposed that she learn Enel and Mikasa Makoto's skills. But she didn't have enough time to practice just now. Brunhilde switched to the more powerful laser cannon she had on her belt after noticing that both of them were ignoring her strikes. Naruto saw this and stopped delaying, appearing behind Brunhilde in a flash. Brunhilde just sensed wind from behind her. She swiftly slid away and shot behind her. Naruto punched the laser beam, and smoke emitted from his palm. Lucy also appeared and threw a lightning serpent at Brunhilde. Seeing no way out, she immediately lifted her blade and blocked in front of her. Although it mitigated a significant amount of damage, the collision drove her backwards while she was electrocuted. Naruto simply knocked her off by smacking the back of her neck. I can't believe I defeated a Valkyrie just like that. Lucy remarked this while glancing at Brunhilde, who was unconscious. Naruto then lifted Brunhilde on his shoulder and proceeded towards her spaceship, Warsong. Hi, Naruto, what about the lizard man? Should I simply finish him off? No, just bring him on board, too. He will be useful to us. Naruto answered after some thought. Lucy operated the Warsong briefly after boarding it. Galupso and Raven were discussing their weaponry. Yes, Galupso. The final time Raven and Sif went to him to get the weapons, he returned with them and formally joined their team. Meanwhile in the bedroom, Sif, Lucy, and Naruto were currently seated around Brunhilde's center bed. She regained consciousness recently. After learning the news, the three of them gathered here and sat around Brunhilde. Brunhilde had also cooled down and approached Naruto and the others calmly. I've spent years in a haze, attempting to forget my history. Sakaar felt like the ideal location to drink, forget, and die. Please do not disrupt my tranquility and leave me alone. After repeatedly failing to persuade her, Naruto decided to give it one more attempt. Let me get things straight. You banished yourself here because you were fed up with the internal struggle among Asgard's royal family. Brunhilde quickly gave him a shocked look. Do not stare at me like that. I'm not some devoted Odin devotee who believes he is a nice and compassionate king. I know the complete truth about his current success, and I know yours as well, Brunhilde. To clarify, I am not employed by Asgard or its royal family. I make decisions based on what I believe is beneficial for my well-being. If you choose to join our team, I assure you that you will have the autonomy to pursue your own goals and will not be relegated to a subordinate role. At this moment, a glimmer of excitement finally emerged in Brunhilde's eyes. You certainly stand out among your fellow Asgardians. Brunhilde considered the possibility of following them, should his claims prove accurate. Subsequently, Brunhilde shared some insights into her past with them. Thousands of years ago, Odin Borson of Asgard and his forces initiated a strategic and forceful endeavor to dominate the Nine Realms. With the assistance of his firstborn and chief executioner Hela, the Allfather achieved his objective of establishing the Asgardian Empire. Shortly thereafter, Odin recognized that Hela's ambitious nature surpassed his own and posed a significant threat to Asgard and his reign. He confronted her in combat and, upon emerging victorious, exiled her to Hel for all time. The Allfather subsequently took steps to exclude his daughter from Asgard's historical records, mandating the removal of any references or representations of her role in the establishment of the empire. Centuries later, Hela made an attempt to flee from Hel, which led Odin to deploy the Valkyries, an elite group of female warriors functioning as his specialized forces, to thwart her efforts. As the Valkyrie rode through the portal into Hel, they advanced towards Hela on their steeds, launching their spears at the former chief executioner. In response, Hela summoned her powers of weapon manifestation, releasing a multitude of necroswords into the air. A number of the warriors and their horses were killed instantly, while others were dismounted and fell to the ground. Hela subsequently engaged the remaining Valkyrie, demonstrating her superiority by overpowering and eliminating them along with their steeds. The sole exception was the leader Brunhild, who endured after a Valkyrie intervened in the trajectory of an approaching necrosword. Odin, believing that the Valkyrie had met her demise, took matters into his own hands by confronting Hela in combat and ultimately defeating the goddess of death before securing her imprisonment once again. Following the defeat and loss of her comrades, Brunhild relinquished her title and chose to enter exile. She ultimately arrived on the planet Sakaar, where she commenced her role as a bounty hunter for the Grand Master. Upon hearing her story, both Lucy and Sif were moved to tears and conveyed their heartfelt condolences. With Brunhilde's decision to join the team, Naruto experienced an unexpected sense of relief. Do you require any preparations to ensure you are ready for the fight? Indeed, there appears to be a matter at hand. The following morning, Naruto and Lucy accompanied Valkyrie to her apartment, where she elaborated on how her drinking habits stemmed from the massacre of the Valkyrie. Lucy remarked that her alcoholism had become somewhat excessive, to which Valkyrie responded by stating her reluctance to cease drinking at this time. Subsequently, she extracted a sword from a concealed compartment. The Dragonfang are formidable swords featuring blades crafted from sapphiric steel and hilts intricately carved from dragon's teeth, exclusively wielded by the Valkyrie during combat. This is the renowned sword of the Valkyrie. Dragonfangs served as the conventional armament of the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie utilized their Dragonfangs to prevent Hela from escaping Hel, though the majority faced significant casualties during the confrontation. Brunhild, having survived the massacre, sought refuge in Sakaar, bringing her Dragonfang along and securing it within her quarters on the planet. If Naruto recalled accurately, the Dragonfangs are formidable swords, designed to cut through various materials thanks to the sapphiric steel utilized in their blades and the dragon's tooth incorporated into their hilts. Consequently, Valkyrie successfully penetrated the hull of a Sakaran Guard spaceship, leading to its swift destruction. In the battle for Asgard, the Dragonfang demonstrated its effectiveness, allowing Valkyrie to stab, cut, and behead multiple berserkers with precision in a single strike. The following day, once all arrangements were finalized, everyone reconvened in the living room. What is the proposed plan? Galupso expressed with enthusiasm. It is important to highlight that the individual who exhibited the greatest enthusiasm for this operation was none other than Galupso. It is evident that he had restrained his desire for retribution for an extended period. Very well, as all necessary participants are present, I will now proceed to outline the plan. The final step of the plan will be executed next month, coinciding with the date of Jack's upcoming fight. However, Our plan would have commenced well in advance of that. Next, Brunhilde, you will approach the Grand Master under the guise of selling the lizard man to him. And strive to conduct yourself in the most natural manner possible while avoiding any suspicion. You will remain there for a period of time to locate the controller of Jack's obedience disc. The successful execution of the plan will hinge on this key factor. Please remain at ease. I will make every effort to succeed. Brunhilde acknowledged with a nod to indicate her understanding. I also have confidence in your abilities. Your responsibilities are not yet complete. Once all tasks are completed, please reach out to the rebels and provide them with these weapons at the appropriate moment. This will suffice for the Grand Master to experience a defeat. In this interim period, we will successfully rescue Jack while also allocating sufficient time for our upcoming plans. Regarding Galypso, it would be prudent to include a backdoor in the weapons as a precaution. We will now await the day of the competition. Initiate a comprehensive operation at the arena to secure Jack's rescue. Do you have any questions? Please begin your preparations for the final confrontation. Once Naruto concluded his explanation of the plan to the group, he requested that Raven remain behind for a private discussion. Despite feeling a slight unease in her heart, Raven chose to remain. Conversely, Naruto indeed wished to allow her additional time. However, the issue is that they lack sufficient time. As Naruto contemplated the plan, his primary concern was the escape aspect. This is also one of the reasons why numerous Sakarans have yet to find their way out of this situation. Naruto also discussed this matter with Galypso, the technology expert on their team. Exploration of uncharted metagalactic routes via a dynamic cosmic portal. Discuss an exciting experience. I do not recommend this approach. The situation is now even more perilous than it was upon your arrival at Sarkar. Additionally, it is uncertain where it may lead. What if it propels us toward a blazing sun? During that period, Naruto also perceived that this approach was not dependable and dismissed it entirely. In the original film, Thor and his companions utilized the Devil's Anus as their means of escape from the planet. While they were precisely expelled onto Asgard, Naruto could not express the same sentiment regarding them. During that period, Naruto recalled the spaceworm gene sample he had gathered. This may certainly assist them in their escape. This is the rationale behind Naruto's choice to inquire with Raven regarding her decision to join their team. How do you feel about your time spent with Sif? What is the current situation? Naruto requested Raven to alleviate the uncomfortable silence. I see your point. Please express your thoughts clearly, as I still need to focus on my preparations. Raven replied in a detached manner, maintaining a sense of tension. Let's proceed directly to the matter at hand. I would appreciate your feedback on my previous offer. I would like to add one more chip as well. By joining our team, I will assist you in enhancing your skills, as there is still a gap between your current abilities and those of Sif and the others. Our team inherently requires strong individuals. Raven contemplated my words and remained silent for a considerable period. Naruto, I sincerely apologize for my actions during our last encounter. Please forgive me for the oversight. Oh, that is your current statement. What would have happened if I had not survived that day? What if Lucy had been in my position that day? Naruto decisively halted her appeals. Upon hearing this, the Raven fell silent as well. She was uncertain about how to proceed in her current situation. The recent days spent in harmony with Sif have significantly enhanced her appreciation for her. It is merely Naruto. As she observed Naruto, she recalled that he stood apart from the creatures she had encountered previously. With Sif's commendation and respect for Naruto, her feelings of disgust began to diminish. Raven deliberately overlooked her desire to be with Sif while also seeking an escape from the challenging environment of Sakar. Alive. At last, Raven clenched her jaw and acknowledged Naruto with a nod. I hereby accept your proposal. Naruto expressed a smile upon hearing this. In fact, he had already anticipated her rejection. Naruto contemplated bestowing this power upon Galypso, although it was more appropriately aligned with Raven, given the limited time available. Proceed. Naruto made contact with the system. The system selects Raven as the subject and utilizes the space worm gene sample. Ding. Verifying the subject and gene sample. Ding. Initiating the process. Ding. Soon, a blue hue emerged on Raven's skin, accompanied by yellow stripes. Raven experienced a profound sense of strength within her body. She intuitively recognized her potential to harness various spatial abilities and exert control over space with ease. Shortly, the system notification sounded, indicating the successful completion of the process. As soon as the system displayed Raven's property panel, it prompted Naruto to select one ability for extraction. Ding. The process has been successfully completed. Raven. Skills equals 1. Teleport S. 2. Portal S. 3. Space Blade. Bullets A+ rating. The user possesses the ability to launch highly destructive projectiles from their hands. It exhibits significant cutting damage and a formidable explosive effect akin to that of a miniature space bomb. 4. Storage Space B. 4. Physique B. Ding. Could you please extract a single ability? Naruto examined the extensive panel and found himself uncertain about what to select. Initially, attack abilities were not included, as Naruto already possessed them and would acquire many more in the future. However, abilities related to space movement at the S level are exceptionally rare and distinctive. The current dilemma involves the other two options. The portal offered greater versatility and capacity, whereas the teleport function is characterized by its elusiveness and quicker activation time. Additionally, teleport can be utilized multiple times during a battle due to its extremely brief activation period of a nanosecond. In the end, Naruto went with teleportation since it fit his combat style better. System selects Teleport S. Can you pull that ability out for me? As Raven was still processing the changes happening to her, Naruto figured it was time to just go for it and extract the ability all at once. Right after that, Naruto suddenly felt this rush of freedom. He glanced around and had this feeling that he could get there just by imagining it. I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today? It's Naruto. Abilities. 1. Hercules. Physique S. 2. Thunder. Power S. 3. Super Fast Regeneration S. 4. Teleport S. Soul Energy is at 2005 and 3000. Ability chances are 1. Wow, I can handle all of this. This power. So, is this how everyone else on the team got their powers too? Raven asked, taken aback. When Raven exclaimed, Naruto quickly shook off the excitement of gaining the teleport ability. Absolutely. Welcome aboard. You're officially part of our team now. Raven gave a nod and then suddenly asked again. Naruto, could you give me a bit more time? Oh, are you changing your mind? Naruto raised his eyebrows but didn't think much of it. The system was all about making sure they were completely loyal, even though they still have their own feelings and thoughts in place. No, Naruto just jumped in and said. But you really can't take back what you've said. It's going to happen eventually, so why put it off? Naruto's perspective. Noticing her hesitant look, Naruto paused for a second before deciding to say something. How about we pick up right where we left off last time? Raven bit her lips, looking a bit ashamed and embarrassed. After a moment, she let out a sigh and nodded, feeling a bit down. Then, she began taking off her clothes, piece by piece. She was really taking her time, pausing and having a tough time with each piece of clothing she removed. But I hung in there. Well, she just can't get away from me. Eventually, she'll end up in my hands. Raven took about 5 minutes to get all her clothes off. She was moving as slowly as she possibly could. But you know what? The weight just made everything even more thrilling. I couldn't help but let my eyes wander over her body, taking in every bit of her smooth skin. Her toned muscles were like a masterpiece, and her brow hair gave her a heroic vibe. It felt like her cat ears and tail were just begging me to tease her a little. Plus, the way she showed she wasn't into it just made me feel even more like I was winning. When Raven was naked, she shot me a look that felt like she wanted to eat me alive. All set. Is that enough? I couldn't help but smile. Is that enough? Huh. Quote. Raven was taken by surprise. But the last time was last time, but today feels different, I said as I took off my pants and underwear. Right away, my proud sword stood tall, shining in all its glory. Raven's face went all stiff. She looked at me with trembling eyes, a hint of fear in her gaze. What's on your mind? Could you clarify what you mean? Clearly, I've got to figure out how to express what I really want. No way. Raven shot down the idea right away. Didn't you just mention that you'd give me a bit more time to think? Ugh, that's such a hassle, I said, putting on a pretend troubled look. So, what's the plan now? I just can't walk away from it like this. Why not try to figure it out on your own? Oh, really? I've got a better idea. Raven instinctively took a few steps back. She realized my idea just wasn't going to work for her. I was looking at her like she was just a little helpless kitten. I get it if you're not up for that, but I'm sure there are other ways you could lend a hand. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.